protect me from what I want, because what I want might not be what's best for me. I thought I'd wear a hat with a statement on it. Who remembers the infamous Bob Dylan song or video where he's holding signs? Do you remember? He would hold signs and then sort of throw them or drop them, and the lyrics would come. Anyway, Bob Dylan. Are you a Bob Dylan fan? I'm going to have to be really honest with you and say something quite contentious. And I know a lot of music lovers are going to be like, what? How can you say that? I feel nothing when I hear his songs. I hear a reedy, whiny voice. Now, I know that he was radical. I know he's considered to be one of the greatest songwriters ever. I haven't interrogated his lyrics. I know that he's kind of all about peace, love, and the poet, and he's a sort of a real man's poet and a working man's poet, and he's a folk song, and he's a guru, and he's like a Buddha, and he's like a wise man, and I've never got any of that from him. I've always just found him a little bit, I hate to say it, a little bit whiny, a little bit moany, a little bit kind of grating, if I'm honest. Now, I want you now to tell me what song I should go to, other than Blowing in the Wind, to kind of gain a sense of his expertise and his genius. Because I recognise it's just something I don't get. I'm not saying he's not a genius, I get it, but he's just never, you know how certain things or certain people, they speak to you. They speak to you. And so therefore it's with a sort of, I'm neither sort of massively enthusiastic nor necessarily uninterested in this new film called A Complete Unknown. This is a sort of biographical drama, biopic about Bob Dylan, and starring as the ubiquitous Dylan, the villain, no, starring as Bob Dylan in this is Timothée Chalamet, and we've seen lots of footage of him actually being filmed in and around New York, coming in and out of sort of coffee shops, cafes, places where he'd perform, sitting in squares, being very hippie. I mean, when I think of Bob Dylan, I do think hippie. I think hippie, not very happy hippie, but a hippie nonetheless. You know, here's a burger, there's a way, here's a gal, there's a whatever guys of the day, there's a burger. Anyway, so this stars Timothée Chalamet as Bob Dylan. It's directed by James Mangold. Now, James Mangold should excite us. I think he did Logan, didn't he? Which is like the long epic film about Wolverine that I keep being told I need to have watched in order to even be able to even vaguely enjoy Deadpool and Wolverine, maybe. He also did the latest Indiana Jones film. Bit disappointing. He also did Ford v Ferrari, which I kind of enjoyed. But he's quite a blokey director, I think. That's my sense of him. The films that he's done, he's quite blokey. And so in that sense, I think what we could have here is blokey hippie film. But you know, Timothée Chalamet has proved he can sing with Wonka, very particular type of singing. And as I understand it, he sings in this. I'm not entirely sure if it's a musical, but maybe it's just a drama that features music. So with everything and everyone getting their own biopic, we've got Michael Jackson coming soon, even Madonna allegedly is writing her script again for her story. Let's check out A Complete Unknown. And I think it's a big deal. I mean, there's, you know, are you a Chalamet fan? Or has Wonka punctured something? Some think it has.
I want to tell you a little story. A few months back, my friend Woody Guthrie and I
Edward Norton
met a young man. He dropped in on us out of nowhere and he played us a song. In that moment, we got a feeling we were getting a glimpse of the future.
Oh, where have you been, my blue-eyed son? Oh, where have you been, my darling young one? I stumbled on the side of 12 misty mountains. I walked and I crawled on 6 crooked highways. I stepped in the middle of 7 sad forests. I've been out in front of a dozen dead oceans. I've been 10,000 miles in the mouth of a graveyard. It's a hard, it's a hard, oh, it's a hard, it's a hard, it's a hard rain to fall. got so far?
Good start.
That was a curious moment at the end, wasn't it? Sort of like ding, ding, ding. A complete unknown. I guess what we're going to be looking at here, because his story is still ongoing, right, Bob Dylan? I think one of the things that has been curious about the whole Bob Dylan sort of, for me, he's untouchable. For me, he's become like what Michael Jackson became. He's become what like Elizabeth Taylor became. He's become what like, sort of like what Liza, I don't know, there's a sort of unapproachability. It's like, I wouldn't be at all surprised if we were told Bob Dylan didn't exist, just his hair did, and that his hair was in fact the cloud to which we send all of our data in the belief that it will look after it responsibly for us. And instead of a cloud, it's actually Bob Dylan's hair. He's sort of ethereal, he's sort of omnipotent, and I think perhaps being favourable to whatever his legacy is. And as I say, just that track there, I'm sure lots of Dylan fans are going, yeah, you don't jam to it. What do you do to it? You don't dance to it. You can't really sing to it because it's only his nasally voice that makes it. It's quite always a standard repetitive kind of chord that he goes for. What do you do to it? Get drunk to it? Get stoned to it? Maybe just be. And maybe that's what he is. Maybe he's just an ethereal thing, and that's how I think of Bob Dylan now. So it's going to be curious to know where the peaks and troughs in the drama of this are going to lay or reside. Because, I mean, there's Ellie Fanning in there, you know, obviously looking like a love interest. Obviously, at one point in the audience, they're looking a bit spurned, like he was a complete unknown once, but he's no longer a complete unknown. And yet, ironically, the title is quite a clever title. If you think of Bob Dylan, he still is a complete unknown. He's managed to maintain a certain mystique and a certain sort of mystery around him, around his talent, around his music, about what he is. And so he's always been a complete unknown, even though he's known by everyone. We all know the name. But like with me, I don't really know what I think about him even. He's like God. And in that sense, this whole trailer reaction has moved from feeling very ambivalent about him to thinking that perhaps Bob Dylan is God.